Ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves for a biography so filled with wild exaggerations, absurd half-truths, and outrageous claims that even Mel Brooks himself would have a hard time believing he lived this life. As the comedy maestro always says, when life gives you material, you turn it into comedy gold. Just remember, truth is stranger than fiction, but not as funny. In this uproarious journey, we'll explore Mel's early years, military escapades, and his illustrious career in film and television. Along the way, you'll hear stories so incredible that you'll think they must have been made up. And who knows? Maybe they were. But one thing's for sure, laughter is guaranteed. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy this comedic roller coaster ride through the life of the one and only Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks was allegedly born in Brooklyn, New York, in 1926. But some say he's been around since 1906, secretly perfecting the art of comedy. Mel Brooks didn't just enter this world like any ordinary person. No, he made his grand entrance on June 28, 1926, right on top of a kitchen table in Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York City. Born to Kate, née Brookman, and Max Kaminsky, Mel's unique arrival left everyone wondering, how does one actually get born on a kitchen table? And more importantly, do you still eat lunch on it afterward? Growing up surrounded by a family with German Jewish roots from Danzig, Gdansk, Poland, and Ukrainian Jewish heritage from Kiev, Mel had three older brothers, Irving, Lenny, and Bernie. At the ripe young age of 14, Mel snagged a job as a poolside entertainer at the Butler Lodge, a Borscht Belt hotel that was less Olympic diving and more cannonball contest. It was there he met the hilariously mature 18-year-old Sid Caesar, and together, they made hotel guests chuckle so heartily they forgot they were baking in the sun. In a thrilling act of teenage defiance, Mel swapped his name to Melvin Brooks, influenced by his mother's maiden name Brookman, cleverly dodging mix-ups with trumpeter Max Kaminsky. Mel's love for music steered him to learn the drums from Buddy Rich, and soon he was raking in the dough as a musician, although he never quite nailed the drum solo of Laughter. At the tender age of 16, Mel stepped into the spotlight as a stand-up comic, covering for a sickly MC. He quickly realized that laughter could mend even the most persistent ailments. In the early months of 1944, during his senior year at Eastern District High School, Brooks was chosen to take the Army General Classification Test, an IQ test that made the Stanford Binet look like a game of tic-tac-toe. After acing the test, Brooks was shipped off to the Army Specialized Training Program at the Virginia Military Institute, where he learned electrical engineering, horse riding, and the fine art of saber fighting, all essential skills for a future comedian. In 1944, Brooks was drafted into the Army. Brooks boarded the SS Sea Owl at the Brooklyn Navy Yard around February 15, 1945, like a comedic superhero ready to save the world one laugh at a time. In June 1946, Brooks was honorably discharged from the Army as a corporal, ready to take on the world of comedy with the same gusto he'd shown on the battlefield.
Do you realize I have been waiting for you since 7 o'clock this evening?
Sid Caesar's show of shows was a pivotal moment in Mel Brooks' career, catapulting him from a quick-witted comic to a comedy supernova. As a writer for the show, Mel teamed up with a who's who of comedy legends like Carl Reiner, Larry Gelbart, and Woody Allen. Mel once quipped, "When I was a fledgling comedy writer working for Sid Caesar on your show of shows, our head writer was Mel Tolkien. I really looked up to him. By the way, I was 5'7" and he was 6 feet tall. One day he handed me a book. He said to me, 'Mel, you're an animal from Brooklyn, but I think you have the beginnings of something called a mind. The book was Dead Souls by the magnificent genius Nikolai Gogol. It was hysterically funny and incredibly moving at the same time. In the whirlwind of genius, Mel struck up friendships and creative partnerships that would change the comedy game forever. One such collaboration was with Carl Reiner, and together they concocted the side-splitting 2,000-year-old man routine. What began as a joke at parties morphed into a television sensation when the dynamic duo appeared on The Steve Allen Show. Reiner and Brooks' chemistry was a comedic force of nature, leaving audiences doubled over with laughter. Mel's next big splash came when he joined forces with comedy writer Buck Henry to create Get Smart.
We can talk under the cone of silence.
The cone of silence?
Well, this is a magenta alert, isn't it?
The cone of silence. I am deeply concerned about the conference room.
What?
I'm concerned about the conference room.
How's that?
He's concerned about the conference room.
Oh.
A TV show about a hilariously inept James Bond-style spy. Brooks mused, "I was sick of looking at all those nice, sensible situation comedies. They were such distortions of life. I wanted to do a crazy, unreal comic strip kind of thing about something besides a family." Starring Don Adams as the bumbling Maxwell Smart, Agent 86, the series ran from 1965 to 1970. Though Brooks had minimal involvement after the first season, the show remained a ratings hit, racking up 7 Emmy Awards, including Outstanding Comedy Series in 1968 and 1969. In response to a reporter's question about what he'd do next, Mel Brooks cooked up the idea of Springtime for Hitler, which would eventually become the foundation for his directorial debut, The Producers. After attempting to write it as a book and a play, Mel finally struck gold with the film script. The movie was so controversial that distributors steered clear, and it was left to play the college circuit. But that didn't stop Mel from winning an Oscar for Best Screenplay at the 41st Academy Awards.
Screw. Well, let's play chess.
With Blazing Saddles, Mel forged a legendary partnership with Gene Wilder,
Checkmate.
and while the film garnered mixed reviews, it did win Madeline Kahn an Academy Award for Best Song. Young Frankenstein showcased Mel's knack for assembling a stellar cast. He not only launched the career of Terry Garr, but also brought together a remarkable ensemble, including Gene Wilder, Marty Feldman, and Cloris Leachman.
What knockers?
Oh, thank you, Doctor.
Mel's comedic genius didn't stop there. He continued to create memorable films with all-star casts, from Spaceballs, who could forget Rick Moranis as Dark Helmet, to Robin Hood, Men in Tights, where Cary Elwes' perfect portrayal of the legendary hero had audiences splitting their sides. And while Mel Brooks may not have been a stunt double for Gene Wilder, their creative partnership was nothing short of cinematic magic. The two shared an incredible bond that was evident in their timeless collaborations, making them a match made in comedy heaven. After Young Frankenstein, Mel continued to create hilarious films that showcased his comedic genius and featured some incredible casts. In 1981, Mel took on the world of swashbuckling with History of the World, Part 1.
Lord, I shall give these laws unto thy people. Hear me! Oh, hear me! All pay heed! The Lord Jehovah, has given unto you these 15... Wait. 10 commandments for all to obey.
This riotous parody of historical epics featured an all-star cast, including Mel himself, Gregory Hines, and Dom DeLuise as a delightfully ridiculous version of Emperor Nero. Next up, Galaxy. Mel returned to period spoofs with Robin Hood, Men in Tights in 1993, which introduced us to a dashing Cary Elwes as the titular hero. With the help of his trusty band of Men in Tights, Robin Hood tackled the greedy Prince John and the nefarious Sheriff of Rottingham, played by the hilarious Richard Lewis.
I'm sorry we don't have enough time for romance, my dear.
Consider this foreplay. A chastity belt?
Oh, that's going to chafe my willy. I'll be back.
Mel Brooks has always been a ladies' man. Well, at least for the ladies who enjoy a good laugh. Before he met the love of his life, in Bancroft, Mel was married to Florence Baum, with whom he had 3 children. In a classic boy meets girl story with a comedic twist, Mel met the talented in Bancroft on the set of a TV show. They say laughter is the best medicine, and it seems to have worked wonders for their relationship. Mel and Ann tied the knot in 1964 and stayed together until her passing in 2005. They had 1 son together, Max Brooks, who grew up surrounded by humor and went on to become a successful writer himself. Mel's love for family extends beyond his children, as he can be seen on a Hulu show with his granddaughter, making viewers chuckle with their adorable banter. It's clear that the comedic gene runs strong in the Brooks family, and we can only hope that future generations will continue to keep us laughing. So, while Mel's romantic history may not be as action-packed as his films, it's clear that love and laughter have always been intertwined in his life. After all, what's a relationship without a little humor to keep things fresh? Mel Brooks has a remarkable talent for surrounding himself with some of the funniest people in the biz. Over the years, he's cultivated lifelong friendships and creative partnerships with comedy legends like Dom DeLuise, Gene Wilder, and Carl Reiner. Together, they've crafted gut-busting moments that have left audiences in stitches for decades. Carl Reiner, Mel's longtime buddy and partner in crime, once described him in Vanity Fair as the secret connoisseur, worshiper of good writing, and expert on the Russian classics, with special reference to Gogol, Turgenev, Dostoevsky, and Tolstoy. This literary expertise has sneakily slipped into Mel's work. In The Producers, Bialystok calls Bloom Prince Mishkin, a character from Dostoevsky's The Idiot. And Leo Bloom's name is a nod to Leopold Bloom, the protagonist of Joyce's Ulysses. Who says comedy can't be sophisticated? Mel's generous spirit doesn't stop at the silver screen. He's been involved in events like Night of Too Many Stars, raising funds and awareness for autism programs. Always ready to lend a hand or a chuckle, Mel's star power and comedic chops are put to good use for a noble cause. Mel fondly reminisced about summers spent with Carl Reiner and their families in the south of France. Every summer, from about 1982 to around 1989, Carl bought a house in the south of France. My wife, Anne, and I, along with 2 other friends, would fly over to see Carl and his wife, Estelle. We'd eat, drink, play word games, and generally have a wonderful time. After 2 weeks, we would get up early in the morning and begin a drive to Venice. We would stop along the way to have breakfast in Genoa, then lunch in Bologna, and we'd arrive in Venice at sunset. Now that was a journey. As Mel Brooks cruised into his later years, his comedic genius didn't even think about hitting the brakes. When he adapted The Producers into a Broadway musical, it took the world by storm, winning a staggering 12 Tony Awards. This success led to rumors that Mel had discovered a secret youth potion, ensuring he'd remain eternally hilarious. Alas, the elixir's recipe remains hidden from the public. Throughout his career, Mel received numerous awards and accolades, but in true Brooks style, he'd be the first to poke fun at them. It's said that he once hosted an award ceremony for himself, where he presented a Lifetime Achievement Award for Outstanding Sock Puppetry and a World's Greatest Mustache trophy. Word has it he even started an Academy of Comedy Awards in his basement, purely for the giggles. Mel's supposed obsession with time travel led to whispers that he'd invented a time machine. Though it's complete fiction, one can't help but picture Mel journeying through time, unleashing laughter across the ages. Maybe he's the one responsible for those prehistoric cave paintings that bear a striking resemblance to his 2,000-year-old man routine. The impact of Mel Brooks' humor on generations of comedians and fans is immeasurable. From his razor-sharp one-liners to his impeccable parodies, his comedic legacy continues to tickle funny bones and nurture new talent. It's safe to say that without Mel Brooks, the world would be a much duller place. 8. Conclusion. As we reach the finale of this uproarious romp through Mel Brooks' life, let's pause for a moment of sincere gratitude. Picture Mel standing before his adoring fans, offering a serious thank you, all the while suppressing a cheeky grin, ready to unleash one last zinger. The laughter and joy that Mel has brought into our lives are gifts that will keep on giving as new generations stumble upon his timeless humor. With a twinkle in his eye, Mel guarantees that as long as he's breathing, he'll keep spreading giggles and grins. Finally, Mel leaves us with his comedic commandments for a life well lived. Never take yourself too seriously, always find the humor in the absurd, and remember that laughter is the best medicine, except, of course, when you're battling a nasty bout of the hiccups. So, here's to Mel Brooks, a true comedy legend, an icon, and an inspiration. Thank you for the laughter, the tears, and the memories that will live on forever. All hail the king of comedy!